Welcome to the first episode of Unapologetically Visible. I'm your host, Christina Olivarez, and I just want to say, I've made it. Finally, after 10 years and countless times where I'm the guest on various podcasts, I finally got out of my own way and decided it is time to launch and host my own podcast. So I am giving myself a round of applause because I've made it, right? You see, that's exactly what we're going to kick off this podcast with. We are going to start with a conversation that I believe every single Latina and woman of color entrepreneur needs to have with herself, which is this question about success and what success really means for us. What success means to you. And I'm talking about that one phrase that I used to chase my whole entire career, which is, I made it. Here's what we're going to unpack in this episode. We are going to talk about what success has actually looked like for me and what I have felt over the last 10 years of my entrepreneurial journey, kind of like where I'm headed now, how Latina and women of color founders are taught to equate success with escapism, survival mode, and perfectionism. We are going to also unpack the why I made it moment is a lie that just keeps us in a cycle of validation and performance, and how I'm starting to redefine what success means for me in my next chapter through the lens of alignment, joy, and in human design, and how you can start doing that too, as well as some questions that you can start asking yourself that will help you sort of redefine what success means. So you're going to walk away from this episode with a new definition of success and something that really fully honors your nervous system, your voice, and your leadership. So let's get into it, okay? Awesome. Well, I've been in business for over 10 years. I pivoted 6 different times. I've had 6 different business models. I've spoken on stages, including the coveted TEDx stage. I've booked my dream clients. I sold out my own conferences, and I've hit the big 6-figure business mark multiple times. And I've truly felt like I've made it more than once, okay? There have been many, many moments where I feel like I've made it. But still, I've had these moments where I've looked around and I've asked, why do I still feel like I am trying to prove like I deserve this success? Why do I still feel like the success that I'm having is not really truly feeling safe, or it doesn't really feel good? And I think the biggest question that I've had is, why am I still not happy? And that one was really, really hard because I feel like at this point in my career, I should be doing XYZ. I should feel happy. Why am I not happy? You know, I think we've all had this like big epiphany moments where you are constantly feeling like you're shooting yourself. I do that a lot. Maybe you can relate to this too. You know, you're constantly feeling like you should be at a specific point in your business. You should be at a specific point in your life by now because you are chasing those I've made it moments. I know for so many of us, it's like the shoulds of, okay, I should have, XYZ in my bank account. I should have XYZ partner. I should have XYZ kids, XYZ house, blah, 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 you name it, right? And I fully believe that success is built upon alignment, joy, softness, self-trust, peace, flow. Visibility is not about your performance, and neither is your success. And that's how we are still treating it. I believe that I was always chasing validation around my performance and my achievements. So I'm going to take you back for a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about just my journey in entrepreneurship and how these little I've made it moments have been creeping up to where I had to really take a pause about what I made it truly means. I was a little girl growing up in the Rio Grande Valley down on the South Texas, US-Mexico border. And I always wanted to be on television. I knew from a very young age that I really wanted to be a news reporter. I saw the power of media and the power of having a voice and also making the voiceless heard. be seen and heard. And I studied mass communication electronic media at Texas State University. I did everything that you should be doing. I interned at TV stations. I did all the job shadows. I graduated in 3.5 years, and I was like checking off all these boxes. I was ready to get started in my career in television, specifically as a news reporter. But every time I was going to these interviews with news directors, I was told that I didn't look the part and that I needed to change XYZ within myself in order to fit their standards. And like so many of us, I internalized that. And I felt like I was never enough. I felt that I had to be a certain way in order to fit the standards and the rooms that never had me in mind. And that was the first time that I learned that visibility wasn't always safe, and that success, as defined by others, came with sacrifice. And so I knew that I didn't want to sacrifice. I didn't want to play that game. I didn't want to be held to that standard. I wanted to carve my own way, blaze my own path. I knew that I was not meant to be kept in a box. So in 2015, I launched my first company, The Social Butterfly Gal, and it was a brand that was born out of trying to solve my own problems of not being able to find a job in television news reporting. In that moment, I was starting to pave my own path and essentially carved out a new career path for myself, and one that hadn't really been part of the marketing ecosystem, if you will, because we were starting to see that at that moment in time, social media was really at the forefront of emerging and innovative industries. And so essentially, I became a social media manager. I was doing a lot of social media campaigns. I was working with influencers. So for the first couple of years in my company, I was managing influencer campaigns. I was speaking at conferences, and which early on I was noticing that speaking was always a part of my main thing within my company. But I was also managing social media for restaurants and fashion brands. But the first I made it moment for me was when I secured the biggest client of my career thus far, which was managing the entire social media strategy year round for a festival, little known festival called Fiesta San Antonio. It is a 10-day cultural festival here in San Antonio that is beloved by so many natives of San Antonio. It is also nationally recognized. And so I felt immense pressure to not only manage the social media, but that was when I first started to charge what I'm worth. And I had to prove that I was capable, more than capable, of hitting every single metric that I had mentioned in the proposal, in the meetings. Like, we had to hit every single ROI. So it came with immense pressure. And, I was managing, even though I was managing for other brands, that was definitely my I made it moment. And that was the one that allowed me to grow expansively as a social media expert. I landed my TEDx talk from that client. I was also winning a lot of awards in the marketing and PR industry. And I really, truly felt like, all right, here we go. I hustled my way to get in front of these people to prove my worth in social media. I was a one-person team with contractors, and I really felt like, okay, I made it. And, it's really funny because throughout the pandemic, this was around pandemic time, that was when I was starting to grow really, really tired of being a social media manager and being known for social media. I was essentially burned out. And, if anybody was managing social media or just guiding clients around that time in 2020, navigating the news cycle, navigating being online at that time frame, you would know that just being on social media is a lot to begin with, but having to be on constantly and making sure that you are doing what you are doing to bust your butt to prove that people still need social media, that it's relevant. It's easy to get burned out. Well, at the time, same time frame, 2018, that was when I launched my second company, Hustle and Socialize. I launched it with my then business partner, who is my best friend of over 20 years. And Hustle and Socialize was a space that I was desperately needed as a first-time entrepreneur, as a young Latina. I couldn't find a space where Latinas were being represented fully in these spaces that were designed for, women in business. I was always going to all these networking events, and I was the only Latina in the room. And I was also the only young person in the room. And to be honest, I just got fucking fed up. I was so annoyed that there wasn't a space for Latinas and women of color. And that was when I went to my best friend and I said, I think we should start a conference. And, that's what Hustle and Socialize was. It was a space for women of color founders to be seen and celebrated and fully supported. And it worked. Oh my goodness, it worked. We hosted 4 conferences, 2 of them in 18 and 19 in person, 20 and 21 were virtual because of the pandemic. And then I truly thought, all right, I made it again, right? These I made it moments, until my business partner made the decision to leave the company in 2022 to run for office. And I was faced with this moment of really trying to redefine what is my I made it moment, because I thought I made it. We got the biggest client thus far. We got this conference, and it was like to a halt, right? I had to fully decide, how do I really want to grow, and what are the things that I need to do in order to keep this going? And so at the time, I bought out my business partner. I merged Social Butterfly Gal and Hustle and Socialize together. And I was starting to rebrand and redefine who I was outside of just being a social media manager or a strategist. I knew that I needed to have a different mission and vision and really redefine what the problems that I was solving for my clients. And that's when I recognized that it was visibility and leadership. It was personal branding that I was solving. I was really helping women to unapologetically be themselves within their personal brand and helping them to be fully confident in the way that they show up in the world. And through that time, I rebranded. I was starting to fully emerge and just be in alignment. What I thought was, getting featured on podcasts, booking these big stages, getting a lot of press. I was positioning myself as a thought leader, and I was making multiple 6 figures. For the first time, it felt like, holy crap, we made it. We made it again. We're doing this over and over and over. I was awarded a $1,000 grant, and then I obtained a $20,000 line of credit, which I'll never forget. I went into a room full of white men and, asked for this line of credit and didn't think that I was going to get it. But because I had, my facts and my papers, I had everything right. Again, check the boxes. There we go. And I was hiring and, just making these really big, significant moves in my company. And I thought, like, holy crap, I'm making it. We were growing the conference. I was taking Hustle and Socialize National, and I took it to one of the biggest towers in the downtown San Antonio area. We were making it bigger, badder, bolder. And then the tower fell. My I made it moment started to fall apart. Because here's the truth. The more I achieved, the more I felt like I had to keep achieving. Like it was never enough. What success was, I don't know. It became someone's version of success that was not tied to my own, because I was craving validation from people, places, things. And my I made it moments were starting to fall apart because my nervous system was in survival mode. I hadn't yet built the capacity for the success that I was trying to achieve. And personally, I was also navigating as a wife and a partner side by side my husband as he was unexpectedly laid off from his very stable and safe job, a career path in an industry where he had been with over 10 years. And so a lot of that was just crumbling. And when I had reached my big 10-year milestone in May of 2025, right before the 7th annual Hustle and Socialize conference, which, mind you, that conference caused significant turmoil for me on all ends, from a financial standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint. That moment, the I made it moment, where I should be celebrating, I should feel happy at 10 years in business. Who the hell makes it to this point after so many pivots and lessons and going through the pandemic, right? I should feel this certain way. I should feel like I've made it. But ultimately, I felt like I burned out. I felt so burned out. I felt like the I made it moment was super, super distant. And I started to really ask the hard questions. And that one question that I asked myself that really just felt so daunting to me was, whose version of success am I actually living? And I think for so many of us, especially Latina and women of color founders, we've been taught that success means we got to get out of that struggle and survival mode. So many of us from generation to generation have been living in that struggle and survival mode. We always feel like in order to earn the seat at the table, we have to hustle our way to the top. We have to grind. We have to just really hustle until you're burnt out and you do not want to admit that you're burned out. And it's too late to where you feel like you don't recognize who you are and you feel like, yeah, I've just lost myself, right? And I also feel like we've been taught the success that because we are the first in our families to actually build something our families never had, we have to make sure that we're passing down generational wealth and not generational trauma. And listen, all of that is powerful, right? That's legacy work. And we also definitely need to keep doing that for many of us for generations to come. But that also comes with immense pressure. Because what happens when you hit those goals and you still feel empty? Okay, we've been taught that success, or we've been taught and sold this lie that success is the finish line, that we just need to make over $100,000. If we can hit, 6, 7, 8 figures, book the speaking gigs, have all this visibility, have all this success, then we're finally going to feel safe, worthy, and enough. And I remember thinking, if I can just hit 6 figures, then I'll feel successful. If I could just take Hustle and Socialize national, then I'll feel successful. If I could start booking all these big speaking engagements and travel and do all these things, then I'll feel successful. And when I actually did, when I hit every single milestone, one by one by one, I didn't feel like it was enough. These I made it moments didn't feel so exciting because what I truly was craving was inner peace. What I really wanted to feel was safe in my body and safe in my decisions. Because in the Chronicles of Christina, decision-making has always been such a struggle for me. I would always look to others for validation in my own decisions. I would ask close colleagues and friends if it was okay if I were to make certain decisions in my business. And historically, again, in the Chronicles of Christina, as a kid, I was always second guessing my decisions because I was afraid of making the wrong decision. I was always afraid of doing things because of the consequences that would happen if I didn't achieve my I made it moments. And it wasn't never just about making money, but it was also about feeling safe to not just make the money, but to keep the money and to keep being sustainable in every single achievement that I've worked so hard and hustled my ass to achieve. No one was teaching me that version of success where it has nothing to do with achievements and everything to do with alignment and self-trust, nervous system regulation, feeling peace, and feeling joy for living in your unapologetic self, especially not in the online business world, right? We always see that visibility is always about going viral and scaling fast. I remember I was like, I need to scale. So I bought into this version of success that was all about my output, all about my performance, all about being in perfectionist mode, and all about validation until I broke. I really believed that my tower moment of it falling broke me wide open of the things that I need to change moving into the next decade in business. I had to start redefining and reimagining what success truly means for me and how to live in full alignment. I'm starting to reimagine my life and my business utilizing my human design. If you have not heard about human design, you need to. I'll have another episode where we go, we use it and we do all the human design things. But one of the things that I really was understanding within my human design is I'm a generator. So that means that I'm the light. I give a lot of light. I use a lot of light. And I was recognizing that I was using a lot of escapism to feel certain things through achievement. And for so many Latinas and women of color, success has too often been about escaping poverty, escaping invisibility, and escaping the boxes that we are told to stay in. And yes, as a visibility and leadership coach, my job as a coach is to guide you and to help you break free from these notions, to really fully build a personal brand that's unapologetic you and that is in a full alignment with your truth. And breaking free is really powerful, but I believe that staying free is even harder. And staying free is something that we should really be holding on to because our world is still rewarding our performance over our presence and over our peace. We are constantly craving that validation from our achievements, from strangers on the internet, from the outside world, from, our families. And so we keep chasing those I made it moments while we also abandon ourselves in the process. We hustle, we grind, we keep going for these I made it moments. And the truth is, in your life, your career, your business, you can't just make it from outside circumstances. You have to keep making it. You have to keep choosing inner peace every single day. You have to keep thinking about how can I live in full alignment and redefine what success means while living in my truth. You don't get to be here 10 years later if you are just chasing success and visibility from the need of validation from those achievements. You can't feel peace in a version of success that wasn't built with your wholeness in mind. And that's why the I made it has to be redefined by your own standard. As a visibility and leadership coach, I help my clients get really clear on building a personal brand that is as authentic and unapologetic as possible. And I wanted to share this exercise with you that I coach my clients through that allows for them to start the process of redefining what visibility means and redefining what success means as they start thinking about their visibility in a very new way. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I want you to pause really quick and grab your journal or maybe bookmark this time frame so that you can go back to these questions. And I'm going to share with you some of these questions that I go through with my clients to help them start the process of redefining what success is, because redefining success doesn't just happen in your head. It happens in your body. It happens in your corazón, your heart, and in your nervous system. So here are these 5 questions that are going to help you redefine what success means. Number 1, if you fully trusted that success no longer had to be tied to proving your worth, what would you stop doing immediately? Number 2, what does your nervous system say when you hit a specific milestone? Do you feel safe or do you feel pressure? Number 3, what version of success are you still chasing that was never yours to begin with? Number 4, when was the last time you truly felt happy? You truly felt satisfied? What were you doing? What were you not doing? And how were you allowing yourself to be within that moment? And number 5, what does success feel in your body when it's built from softness and visibility in your truth, not from urgency or hustle? I want you to sit with these because your next level of visibility isn't about going viral, isn't about shouting louder, isn't about doing more. It's about showing up more honestly and more unapologetically you. And it starts with redefining what success means and redefining what it means to make it. So if this episode spoke to your soul, This is what you're going to be hearing throughout the podcasts. You're going to be hearing more episodes from me about personal branding, visibility, and leadership. You're also going to be hearing very powerful interviews from other Latinas and women of color founders who are rewriting and redefining visibility in various different ways. But if this episode spoke to your soul, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to subscribe and leave a review, because this helps this podcast reach more women like us, women who are never meant to stay hidden. They're never meant to be the best kept secret. They are meant to be highly visible leaders. I want you to share this episode with someone who you love, who is quietly questioning her own success story. And I want you to also send me a DM on Instagram. You could also share this episode on your Instagram stories and tag me so that I could reshare. But I want you to send me a DM on Instagram and tell me your biggest reframe or breakthrough that you had from today's conversation. You can also tell me what success means for you now in this moment. And if you're feeling the call to go deeper, to recalibrate your personal brand, your leadership, your visibility, I'd love to support you through one-on-one coaching. I'll personally share how I can guide you and support you and walk alongside you in this next season. If you just send me a DM with the word visibility, we can chat about that as well. I want you to remember that you didn't come this far to play small. You came to be unapologetically visible. I'll see you next week.